As you can see, I got COVID. All right. And I don't want this video to be like, oh, poor me. But I do want this video to educate because this video is going to be about my experience with COVID, everything I went through. And I'm not like scripting anything. This is just off the dome, kind of what I went through, everything I dealt with. So you can hopefully learn if you're curious about COVID or maybe if you have COVID. And also to my subscribers, the reason why I've been MIA. This is why. I made a post about it, but things got even worse. So I just want to kind of explain my experience, like I said, and hopefully educate you and help someone. And one thing I do want to say, I debated for a while even making this video, and also when I decided to make this video, I debated even saying the word COVID because I know YouTube supposedly doesn't like that and won't push you to the algorithm. So do with that as you wish, YouTube. But now let's get started. Okay, so this whole thing started for me on, I think it was the 25th of October. Okay, so as you know, I'm expecting a baby, and we decided, even though the timing was terrible, obviously we had planned it before this, but we decided to have a baby shower. Rather than do something for the men and the women, we just decided to do it all together, a few friends and family members. Right? So it wasn't like super big or anything like that. And it was at a restaurant, which my girlfriend's sister works at, in a separate room away from everyone. And everyone wore masks. Okay, so we were being safe. It wasn't anything ridiculous. But there was one person, we don't really know who was asymptomatic and ended up getting quite a few of us sick. Okay, and no hate on them. I really don't know who it is. It could be one of like 3 people, but no hate there. All friends and family. We knew the risk going into it. We debated even after everything was all planned, and it was like a couple days prior, we debated not doing it because this is when all the numbers were just rising. It was going insane. We had people canceling on us because of this, and we debated not doing anything. And we should have, obviously, hindsight is 2020. But anyway, so we do it. Great time. Maybe I'll put some pictures up quick. It was awesome. Okay. A couple days later, I'd say 25th, so like the 27th, I started having a sore throat. Okay. Now, a little paranoid because obviously what's going on, but having a sore throat is nothing out of the blue, right? Like a couple years ago, I had a sore throat and there was no such thing as COVID. So I started thinking I had strep throat the worse it got. But on the 31st of October, Halloween, I'm like, okay, I woke up and it was horrible. So I go to the urgent care and I get tested for strep throat and COVID. I tried taking a video with my phone. I'll put it up if I can get anything worthwhile on video. But yeah, it was not fun. Getting COVID testing, I mean, strep test was bad, but getting COVID testing, it's like, if you haven't done it, it's like they stick this tool up your nostril and they rub it on your skull. Like literally, it's so not enjoyable. Okay, so get tested. Literally I think it was like a day later, I get the strep test back, negative. So I'm like, oh great. And at this point, it's like the sore throat's getting better because they gave me these steroids, but I'm starting to have symptoms like I'm really tired, I keep getting cold sweats and stuff like that, but nothing crazy. Okay, I get my test back like I think it was like 3 days after I had initially took it. So it was like the 3rd now. And I was COVID positive. And I put it in a post in my community tab. If you're a subscriber of mine, you probably saw that. And I originally announced that. And then I was done with quarantine on the 7th. That's what the doctor told me. Okay. So on the 7th, I'm going over to my girl's house because she's pregnant and she's positive COVID. My dad's positive COVID. Her sister, everyone's getting positive. Okay, so like 6, 7, 8, 9 people probably out of everyone. It's like a third of everyone that was there got COVID. Maybe it's a little less, but something like that. Okay, so I'm going to her house because she's obviously super pregnant and I'm just going to help her out. Okay, she's got COVID, but she's not sick at all. Super weird, right? And this is the 7th. Okay, this is very important. I'm feeling great. Okay, no symptoms, nothing, right? Haven't had symptoms for a couple days now. Like, I'm fine. And I go there, we're good. The next morning, I wake up. I have a sharp pain, the bottom of my left foot, behind my left leg, and like in my chest. I couldn't really feel where, but it was more so the right side. This is probably the left side, which you're looking at, but it's the right side of my chest, okay? The right side. And I'm like, this is weird. Okay, so I'm trying to deal with the pain. So I tough it out and I'm like, maybe it will get better tomorrow, thinking it's just like symptoms that are just lingering. Okay, so I try laying down in bed that night, but the pain in my chest is so bad, I couldn't lay down. So I actually slept in a chair that night. All right, so pretty awful, but when I was sitting, I could get in a position where it wasn't really painful, and it wasn't like I could like I couldn't breathe or I was having trouble breathing, which is like a typical symptom, but it hurt to breathe, right? So I was in the chair, and that's where I slept on the 8th. I woke up in the morning. It was even worse, right? So I'm like, okay, I got to go to the doctor. I went to urgent care, and I go in there. There's a huge long line, but there was a little note on the wall. If you're having chest pains or whatever, you can go right ahead and go talk to someone. So I go talk to someone. They get me back right away. And then the doctor, whoever the nurse comes in, I think it was the doctor, comes in and asks me about my symptoms, yada, yada, yada. And she's like, okay, my suggestion or whatever, she says it in a much smarter way, but she says basically you have to go to the emergency room right now in a way that makes you a little less scared. But she's like, you could have blood clots. And I'm like, blood clots? Like, that sounds scary, like super scary, right? So I go back outside, and my girl, she's driving me. So luckily I didn't have to take an ambulance. So we drive over to urgent care, or not urgent care, we drive over to the emergency room, and I get in there, and this place is packed, right? So I go in there. They had already called over from urgent care, so they knew I was there, but they bring you back pretty quick, and they do like these tests, like an EKG or whatever. They put the stuff on your chest, and they had just done that at urgent care, right? And I was like, this is stupid, but whatever. So we do the test, we do the blood pressure, all that stuff, and then they send me back out to the waiting room. I'm like, what the heck? I was in the waiting room for like 3 or 4 hours. Mind you, my girl's pregnant, waiting in the car for me. Anyway, so finally, after 3-4 hours, they bring me back and start doing even more testing. And oh my gosh. So basically, to make a long story short, the doctor agrees you probably have a blood clot in your leg and in your chest. Okay. So they end up doing a, what's it called? An ultrasound, which is super weird, right? So they do an ultrasound on my leg. Okay. And they find that I have a blood clot in my leg. Now, the options were they could do a CT scan and check my chest to see if it was also a blood clot, but they just assumed because of the symptoms I was having that there was a blood clot on the right side of my chest and a blood clot in my leg and my foot, whatever. So they gave me these pills that I have to take for 3 to 6 months, super expensive, pretty annoying, but they're blood thinners, right? So they thin my blood, and it helps cure the, I don't think it actually gets rid of it, but it basically, your body heals it after a while because your blood is thinner, something like that. So that night, I'm like, it was probably like 11 p.m. when we finally got home, right? So I'm tired. I try laying down again. I can't. I have to sleep in a chair again. I'm taking these pills, and the next day I feel fine. Like the pain in my leg is fine. The pain on the right side of my chest is fine. It's all gone. But now I have this really sharp pain on the left side of my chest. I'm just confused. I'm getting a little paranoid. I'm like, I should have done the CT scan. Something's wrong with me. What's going on? And I should mention that this isn't like out of the blue where you don't have symptoms, or like your symptoms are gone and then all of a sudden you have lingering symptoms come back, just so you know. But anyway, so this would be the second night, sleeping in the chair, sucks. The next morning, I'm just taking the pills. I have to take them at night and in the morning. And I'm like hoping it gets better because I'm getting a little paranoid. I'm like, is there something else wrong with me? Like, you know what I mean? So finally, that night, I try laying down again, and it's like so painful. I'm like, okay. In the morning, if it's still like this, I'm going to the emergency room again. I'm getting the CT scan. Okay, so again, sleep in a chair. Third night, a little freaking rocking chair. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't super uncomfortable, but it wasn't very fun. So third night in a row, sleeping in a chair. In the morning, Pain is horrible. So I go back to the emergency room. Luckily, it was not busy. It was super quick. They bring me back and it was super quick, right? So then I'm like, basically, I want to do the CT scan to make sure something's not wrong. We do the CT scan. The problem is, prior to doing the CT scan, they need to hook you up with an IV. As some of you may know, some of you may not know, I was a heroin addict for many years, okay? So my veins don't work like normal people's veins. They are destroyed. So the nurse had to put heating packs on, had to tried everything, and finally found one, got it in there after shoving, I won't get too graphic, but it wasn't fun, okay? So finally get the IV in, go back to do the CT scan, and I'm just feeling like trash at this point. I'm like, not in a good mood. And the person doing the CT scan tells me basically they're going to put this dye in you and it's going to make your body feel pretty warm. And that's so they can see the blood clot or whatever. And I'm like, okay, easy enough. They put me in the little thing for the CT scan and they're like talking over the radio thing over the speakers so I can hear them. And they're like, stop breathing now. And I have to like stop breathing for 3 seconds or like try not to breathe super heavily. They're like, you can breathe normally again. If you've ever dealt with a CT scan, I'm sure it's probably the same. I don't know. I think I had done one like a long time ago, but I don't remember. But then I hear something and they say something, but I didn't really hear it. But I assumed it was they're going to pump the dye through you now. And like 0.5 seconds after they say that, my whole body is warm, right? And it feels like literally I'm shitting my pants. I feel like there's stuff coming out of my butt. It's not enjoyable. Obviously I didn't, but that's how it felt. And I was just not a happy camper. Okay, so they bring me back and then they tell me after it was like another hour, however long until they got the test results. They were like, yes, it was a blood clot on the right side of your chest, and the left side, the reason I was feeling so much pain on that side, it was damage from COVID-19. It was like damage it caused to me, right? So there was really no cure for that. You just kind of got to let it go through it, right? And this is when they would send normal people home with some very strong pain medication. But again, because I'm a heroin addict, we're not normal people. We don't take pain medication like normal people, and I have it on file that I do not want that. So I didn't get that. So what they told me is go home and take some Tylenol every 4 to 6 hours. And I'm like, great. So this night, again, I ended up sleeping in a chair. Luckily, in the morning, the pain was like gone. So weird. And I just progressively felt better after that. And basically, that's my story. So just a real quick timeline to give you an overview. The 31st was when I got tested. I started having symptoms a couple days before that. I got the result for positive on the 3rd. I felt better and was done with quarantine on the 7th. And on the 8th was when I woke up with the pain. I went to the ER on the 9th, like urgent care in the ER on the 9th. And again, I'm sleeping in the chair, feeling this pain. I get the pills, the pain, the blood thinners. And on the 11th, 2 days later was when I went back, got the CT scan. And then the 12th was when I finally started feeling better. And that was the first night I had been able to sleep in a bed for 4 nights, right? So, yeah, it was a long journey. And then today, what is today? So today is the 17th. So not even, 5 days after, and I'm feeling pretty good. So basically, I had to quarantine at my girlfriend's house. Oh, I forgot. So the 12th, because I felt so much better, I decided I'm cured, right? So we're going to go get this rapid test for COVID and let them shove this tool back in my skull, up my nostril. And my girl got her test back. It's like 15 minutes they give you the test, right? Not no 3 days thing like the others. Is 15 minutes. You got to pay $100, but most insurances will cover it if you send it to them. Anyways, so she gets hers back, negative. I get mine back like a minute later, still positive. So I'm stuck. I have to quarantine at my girl's house now. And I have none of my gear, no computer, nothing. So after like 5 or 6 days, I'm like, screw this. I'm going home. Like, I got to make a video. Like, I'm feeling fine. Obviously, I wore a mask. I didn't pass anyone or anything like that. It was just me. And yeah, so now I'm home. It's the 17th, was it? Yeah, it's the 17th. I got like 4 days left of quarantine. Uh, I feel better. Hopefully, it doesn't spike again and I feel terrible all of a sudden, but I've got high hopes and the blood thinners are working. And I just want to say, for me, my personal experience, the reason I think I ended up getting the blood clot, it's a multitude of things. I'm a little overweight because I just sit here and work on my business all day. Two, I smoke e-cig, so that not good. I've been cutting that way down. And three, again, I work at home. I sit in a chair. I don't move a lot. So those are three major things that will cause, and obviously I had COVID, so I was just laying around doing nothing, right? Like I couldn't even go on walks, nothing. So it was just a buildup of those things. And something that really like kind of wowed me, I guess you can say, with this whole thing is I'm dealing with all of these terrible, awful things, right? But I had quit my job over the pandemic and I had made over $100,000 with my business over the pandemic. And, it's such a horrible time for everyone else. And, I was fortunate enough to work very hard the year and a half prior to build up this business to where I could leave my job. And over this past couple weeks or 30 days, whatever you want to call it, I have made almost 10 grand, probably more actually. And I haven't really worked on my business at all. So it's super like I'm just super grateful, not for having to go through that, but the fact that I have built something where it works for me and I don't have to, call my boss and do this or that. And that's kind of getting a little off of the topic of this video, but for my subscribers who watch my channel because they want to learn how to start a business and make money online, you can learn from me because that's what I've actually done. I'm not one of those gurus who sells a course on something that they've never done, right? Like I make a full-time income with affiliate marketing, right? Like I don't sell my course and make my money from that. I barely make any money from that. But I have two links below in the description. The first one is a $7 15-day challenge that you can check out. And the second link is for my beta program and you can apply. And that's where I teach you specifically how to make money with high ticket affiliate marketing on YouTube. And I show you everything step by step. So that's my story. That's how I make my money. If you're interested, cool. If not, it's all good. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below. Make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. That's all I got. See you on the next video.